Hi, I'm Pixie with a little BDSM chat, and, sorry. And I wanted to talk to you really quick about fetish modeling in the scene. And I'm a model. Sorry, my lens seems a little off. It might be the lighting. I'm a model. I have been since I turned 18, and that's a whole other ball of wax. But modeling and taking photos in fetish wear is a pretty standard practice. I don't know if it's across the board, but in the Atlanta scene, it's fairly standard to get into the kink community and suddenly get thrown in front of a camera or have somebody want to throw you in front of a camera. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, and hopefully this won't be a long 25-minute video. So fetish modeling, what is it? It can be anything. It can be feet. It can be long hair. It can be no hair. It can be corsets, leather, latex. A lot of times people assume fetish modeling is I'm so blurry. A lot of times people assume fetish modeling is fetish fashion, which is definitely a huge part of it. There's also bondage. There's cosplay. Yes, cosplay is a fetish. There is predicament situations. There's modeling that tells stories. And sometimes these photos are just for the fun couple to have, or the couple to have for fun, rather. And it's nothing to be presented. It's nothing for mass consumption. And in general, when it comes to taking nude photos or taking risque photos, you really need to think about, like, what are you comfortable with? Are you comfortable with your partner having these photos? Because sometimes people aren't honest. Sometimes people will post those photos online without your permission. And there's not a whole lot that can be done about it. I think there is some sort of legal recourse, but who has the time or the money to do it? Who's to say that they're not going to show these pictures to your friends? Or their friends. More likely their friends. So first of all, you have to be willing, you have to be comfortable with that risk. And as a model, I say never take a photo that you don't want plastered all over the internet. And I do have a few light exceptions to that. For instance, I have a photo floating around that is me in a beautiful latex dress and fuzzy blue socks, because we were light testing, and I was like, screw this, I'm not putting my heels on yet. And he thought it was funny, and he posted it online. And while I agreed that it was funny, I didn't really want it online, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. It shows who I am. It shows a little bit of realistic me. Because I am goofy. And I do fuck around. And I do silly things when I'm in front of a camera and we're on a break or I'm working with another model. It's part of my personality. I have fun with things I do. But some people aren't willing to have those goofy photos shot, so don't be goofy. If you don't want certain type content floating around, don't shoot it. And it really comes down to the trust that is built between you and your partner. So when you get into a brand new relationship, maybe you shouldn't send sexy photos until you're sure that they're not going to float around all over. Just think about it. Think about things instead of getting caught up in the moment. A lot of times, if you are young and your partner wants to be a photographer, they're going to try to push their significant other into modeling, because who do you have access to? You have access to your partner. It's easier to start shooting with your partner rather than strangers. And sometimes they will push you to try to do things that, or try to get you to do modeling things that you're not really comfortable with. Don't do it. Don't let your partner coerce you into taking photographs that you're not comfortable with, because just like with other fetishes and other kinks, like, you can say no. You damn well better be able to say no and have a choice in how you live your life. So, similarly, if you are playing model for your significant other, you should have the ability to say, no, I'm not comfortable with that. Or, this is the modeling I'm comfortable with. Or, for the love of God, don't put these online. Like, you should have control over the content, because it's your relationship. It's what you're doing. Now, if you decide to model outside of your relationship, that's its own thing. But again, you need to do content that you're comfortable with being plastered all over the internet, because you never know how your photographer is going to be. And hopefully you build really good relationships and good rapport with your photographers, and you can trust them. But that's not always the case. I'm extremely picky about who I shoot with, because I've had some people who were less than respectable. And those are experiences that have helped me learn and become the person that I am, and be confident enough to go, hey, I'm not cool with that. Or, no, I'm not shooting that. I don't care if you're going to delete the photo. I don't want to turn this into like a modeling 101 chat, so I'm going to try to keep it on topic. But there's, at least in the Atlanta community, there seems to be a very strong focus on, if you're young, pretty, and in fetish wear, you have to be in front of a camera. And while I would love to take photos of anybody who is comfortable in front of a camera and in cute clothes, I also acknowledge that not everyone's a model, and not everyone should be modeling. And there's definitely a difference between, hey, I want to do a sexy shoot for my significant other, and, hey, I want to model. And so, as a photographer as well, I do both. I do all the things. As a photographer as well, I'm not going to push someone to do a professional style shoot with me if they just want pretty photos to give to their significant other. And I'm not going to plaster those photos all over the internet, because that's not what the shoot was for. I might ask if I can use one, but they can tell me no. I don't have to use it. Yes, I maintain the rights to the photos, but I'm not a dick. I'm not going to post it unless my model's willing to have it online, because that's what you do. I have a photo set that I think I've personally shown 2 or 3 people because I did the shoot and my model decided they didn't want it online, so it didn't go online. It sucks, but that's the way of the world. Be that photographer. Be the person with integrity. Be respectable. Be responsible. Be courteous and kind and have empathy. And be understanding and respectful of boundaries. Because if someone doesn't want to model or they're not comfortable in front of the camera, who are you to force them? And if you're dominant, who are you to force them? If you are their dominant, who are you to force them? Like, seriously. Like, don't do it. And if you convince them to take photos, don't put them online. Don't show them to all your friends. Like, be respectful. That's for you too. Or if you're poly, that might be for you 3 or 4 or 5. But do what your partner is okay with when it comes to photographs. If your partner wants them plastered all over the internet, have fun, post away. But not everyone's like that. Some people are really private about their kinks or their body or whatever. And while I think that modeling in a professional or amateur sense can up someone's self-esteem, it can be a beautiful, helpful, healing experience. It can also be very harmful. And like all kinks, that's the risk you take. So be careful, be cautious, be courteous, and treat it like what it is. Something that some people are into and some people aren't. And you just have to respect. If it's not, like, respect the person enough to say that's fine when they're like, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. Please be careful with it. If you are doing bondage modeling or something like that, make sure you have an easy escape route, that there are scissors on hand in case you feel like you're going to pass out, or if you're doing predicament where you're like kind of precariously placed, make sure there's someone who's not holding an expensive camera, who can, you know, someone just right outside of frame to be there if you fall, or to catch you or pick you up or whatever it is. Because 2 people doing a lot of types of fetish modeling is not enough. If there's rope involved, you need the rigger and the photographer in case you need to get out of the rope. If there is like predicament stuff involved, you need somebody who's there watching the model, making sure that they're okay and not going to fall or pass out or whatever, or hurt themselves if they do fall or pass out. And you can't always trust the model to know that something's going to go wrong. Sometimes you're okay one second and not okay in the next. And that's just how it works. For example, I've done a suspension where you're tied up in rope and then lifted up in the air, and never had a problem with it. And so I do another photo shoot with somebody and I'm just being bound to a chair. I'm not even like doing anything, in my opinion, that's strenuous. And I start feeling like I'm going to pass out. I had no idea that that would happen. But it just happened to be the perfect wrong combination of temperature and airflow, hydration, food. And I was just like, ugh, all of these things that make me feel like I'm going to pass out. Oh, hey, I need to get out of this rope. And luckily, I had some very good people on hand, and my rigger started untying me immediately, and my photographer got me some water, and I was able to get out of the situation and breathe and go back to feeling normal and continue on with the shoot after, I think it was like a 10-minute break. And I was actually questioning whether I needed the rope cut off me. But luckily I didn't. It was fine. Yeah, so I'm not going to be rambling on anymore before this video gets too much longer. I'm going to sign off and remind you to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon to get notified when I post new videos. I post every Tuesday, so keep an eye out. And until next time,